This was the ship that was known as Britain's identity in World War II. The Supermarine Spitfire was an excellent fighter plane, which was liked by the pilots due to its speed and agility, and was called a war-winning machine for the public. But in reality, this plane was a victim of a very big problem. The problem was that the plane's engine would stop at the exact moment when it was dogfighting with the German pilots, especially when it was being dived down. On the other hand, there was no such problem in the Messerschmitt 109 fighter plane of the German Luftwaffe. For this reason, the German pilots often overpowered the British pilots during the war. Britain won the Battle of Britain with great difficulty, and its biggest reason was the Spitfire engine. If Britain wanted a clear victory in World War II, it was very important to solve this strange Spitfire problem. They tried their best. Even big engineering firms tried, but no one could solve this Spitfire problem. Finally, they found a solution, and that too from a man who had no hope, a woman named Beatrice Schilling. What did this woman do to Spitfire that today she is held responsible for winning World War II by the Allies? Welcome back to Tareekh to Space videos. This problem of the Spitfire's Rolls-Royce Merlin engine first came up in 1938. At that time, this problem was not considered so big, because before World War II, pilots did not dive much. But in 1940, when the Battle of Britain was at its peak, it was not just a technical problem, but a question of survival. The bigger problem was that before World War II, the British government had produced more than 20,000 Spitfires. That is, this was the same problem in all these planes, because the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine was installed in all of them. And then the idea of the delicacy of the matter came when the British found out that the Royal Air Force, that is the RAF, had the same Rolls-Royce Merlin engine as the other fighter planes, including Hawker Hurricane and Bolton-Paul Defiant. Now, one was forced to fight the hotness of World War II, and on top of that, the biggest ally of the Allies, the planes with the defected engine. In 1940, during World War II, Nazi Germany was competing with France and Britain. During this time, when the Germans came to the Allies with their Messerschmitt 109, the RAF Spitfires were used to counter them. Pilots used advanced maneuvers to avoid each other's bullets, such as diving immediately or lifting the ship up. This was a very common thing in World War II. Planes could maneuver like this and fight for hours. Sometimes they would dive down and avoid the enemy's bullets, and sometimes they would immediately nose up and fire at the other plane. Now think about what would have happened if someone's engine stopped during this dogfight of life and death. Fortunately, the British pilots had a home court advantage in the Battle of Britain. Their fuel supply was close, and they could fight for hours. On the other hand, the German pilots had to cross the English Channel first and then fight. And after that, they had to go back to their base for refueling. This was a disadvantage for the German pilots. Maybe that's why they couldn't even compete with the defected Spitfires. The Battle of Britain was over, but World War II was still left. In Spitfire, this strange problem came only when they nosedived. When a plane starts to fall rapidly and free fall downwards, anything that is not firmly grounded, such as the blood running in the pilot's body and the fuel in the engine carburetor, the gravity, that is the pull of the ground, does not work on it, and it goes up instead of going down. Unfortunately, the fuel outlet in the carburetor of the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine was down, so when the plane nosedived rapidly, the fuel in the carburetor went up, that is, away from the outlet. During this time, the engine did not get fuel. Because of this, either the plane's engine would stop or it would start to jerk, only until it goes straight again. To solve this problem, the best minds of the world were entrusted with this task at that time, in which A.D. Fisher of Rolls-Royce's Cyril Lovesay and Royal Aircraft Establishment were also included. Both of them found a very clever technical solution, but both failed completely. On the contrary, due to the solutions of both, a new problem also arose in the plane. To understand this problem, it was necessary to have a deep knowledge of the engine. Because of this, it was very surprising that in 1940, a woman gave its last and best solution, which we know today as Beatrice Schilling. When Spitfire's production test flights were taking place for the first time in 1938, during this time, a woman named Beatrice Schilling rebuilt and tested her favorite machine, a 490 cubic centimeter Norton motorcycle. It was the same bike on which she became the fastest woman to ride a motorcycle on the Brooklands racetrack. Schilling was an amazing racer, but an engineer even better than her. She had a passion for motorcycles since childhood. Around 1919, when Beatrice was only 10 years old, she saw that her sisters go on cycle trips, and she always lags behind. That's why she decided to save money to buy a motorcycle. At the age of 14, she bought a 2-stroke Royal Enfield and got it. Gradually, she started solving the problems of her bike, and gradually, she was able to open the bike completely and reassemble it. At the age of 15, she decided that engineering would be her real career, but the problem was that it was the time of 1924, and at that time, society did not even imagine making girls engineers. With the help of the Women's Engineering Society, in October 1929, Beatrice took admission in the Department of Electrical Engineering of Victoria University of Manchester, where no girl had ever taken admission before today. Later, she also got a chance to take thermodynamics and mechanical engineering classes, which was her real interest. She was an engineer, but also a woman who raced with men on the Brooklyn track. And this was only possible because she had made some changes to her 490 cubic centimeter Norton motorcycle carburetor, which increased her pickup by a lot. Schilling herself did not realize at that time, but this ability of hers was going to solve the biggest problem of Spitfire and Hurricane fighters during World War II. Before World War II, Schilling had spent 3 years working in the Royal Aircraft Establishment. Initially, her job was only to write technical documentation, but after several promotions in November 1939, Beatrice Schilling reached the level of a technical officer, and now her responsibility was the research and development of the carburetor. When Rolls-Royce engineers failed to solve the Spitfire problem, Schilling asked the authorities for permission to fix the problem. At first, everyone was underestimating her because she was a woman, but surprisingly, in just a few days, Schilling not only solved the problem, but the authorities laughed at themselves. But what did she do? Schilling designed only a small brass restrictor, which had a special diameter hole. And then, by fitting that plate in the carburetor, the problem of the aircraft was fixed to a large extent. The biggest advantage of this solution was that this brass plate could be fitted in the aircraft while standing. That is, it was not even time-consuming. Now, the biggest problem was to go to different bases and install it in the Spitfire. To do this, Schilling used her Norton bike and went to different bases to install this solution in Spitfire and Hurricane fighters. Schilling's solution was so successful that it was named Miss Schilling's Orifice. This small plate had fixed the biggest problem of the pilots to a large extent. Later, Schilling designed a completely new carburetor for Rolls-Royce Merlin and solved this problem forever. After winning World War II, the pilots gave all the credit to Schilling's ability. Finally, in return for her hard work, she was awarded the Order of British Empire, OBE. After World War II, Schilling started working on new and advanced military projects instead of leaving engineering. By the 1950s, her work had spread to new fields, such as rocketry, ramjets, and guided weapons. In 1955, Schilling was made Senior Principal Scientific Officer of the Royal Aircraft Establishment. Beatrice Schilling was not just a mechanic or engineer. She was an indomitable character who was opening new doors for women in engineering. Even today, it is well believed that if there was no Schilling in World War II, then perhaps the world map would not be what it is today. I hope you will like and share this video of Tareekh to space. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next great video.